Okay, so we started with summer base, and we are still starting with summer base. So we are in the midst of discussing the principle of a makif. Where makif is essentially, no matter where it is, it continues to represent its source. It never becomes part and parcel of the world, of the Tzias, independently. It has a tremendous effect on world because it is representing that which is higher than world. However, it is representing actually which is higher than world for world. So there is a means by which it communicates with world. So that world recognizes the presence of the makif. It is not completely remote, so it has no effect at all on world. And as we said, this effect is recognizable in world throughout, in the very manner that world performs, operates. Like for example, we said one aspect that the effect of makif is nase koidem l'nishma. We discussed that originally. The principle of nase koidem l'nishma will never be exhausted, so to speak, in terms of explaining it. The principle of nase koidem l'nishma is
the principle of what?
Nase koidem l'nishma. If you think into it, you'll realize that this is really a tremendously profound Indian.
Wait, that came up to illustrate makif?
Right. This
Okay.
is the effect of the makif on world.
Is to introduce the concept of nasa b'nishma.
Is to affect.
Okay.
That is not the whole thing, but as a result of the makif, it has that effect.
Okay.
That there is a koyach, although it's nasa l'nishma. This nasa koidem l'nishma, if you dissect it a little bit, go into it a little bit deeper, which are very big to some extent. In the world, everything identifies itself for itself as to what I stand, what I am in my mitzias. My mitzias is, in order to enhance, my mitzias is focused on enhancing my mitzias and experiencing everything that my mitzias can provide for. My mitzias is not to fulfill somebody else's purposes. That's contrary to the principles of world, because that nullifies, negates my own mitzias. I don't stand for what I am. I'm in service of something else. That's not a real mitzias. That's not a real mitzias of world. Yet in world, there is this principle, this Indian, this sense of nase koidem l'nishma. Where does this sense come from? It comes from the makif. Because that in the world itself there is a recognition, there is a sense, there is the inspiration of something higher than world, something that of source of world, And this is why in world there is the cognizance. I don't have what I can express it. There is a cognizance that I am not here for my own, to represent my mitzvahs. I'm here to fulfill some task, to accomplish something. NASA. My principal function is NASA. What to do, I'll hear later. But the definition of my mitzvahs is to do. To do means to fulfill some kind of a mission. The mission is going to come as it will come. It's not a good mission. The mission is there someplace. I didn't hear it yet. In other words, what actualizes, what makes my mitzvahs real? Listen to this. My mitzvahs is made real not because of how I am in my mitzvahs, but because I have a creator. This is what makes my mitzvahs real. My mitzvahs as such is not real. Because I have a creator and I recognize the presence of the creator and I'm fulfilling the mission and the task that the creator assigns me, this is what makes my mitzvahs real. This is the NASA coding mission. And the Rebbe said before that this, in fact, is what's defined and explained as the beetle to the Baal Horotz. The beetle to the Baal Horotz, to the source of the Horotz, not to the beetle for that which is already expressed as to what is wanted, but it is the beetle to the one who wants, who will give me what he wants. I don't have yet a command. I'm waiting for the command to come from the commander. This is the beetle of Nazca. This kind of beetle, this kind of cognizance cannot be part and parcel of the mitzvahs of the world. Because the mitzvahs of the world identifies itself. This is what the world is, self-identity. So therefore, this type of recognition, this kind of inspiration, is because of his recognition that there is a commander. Not what he's commanding him, but the commander himself. And this is what substantiates my mitzvahs. This is the Nasa Kodol issue. And this is what the Rebbe said before, that this is called the beetle, the Baal Horotz. Not the beetle to the Rotzen, to fulfill the Rotzen, but the Baal Horotz, to the source of the one who creates the Rotzen. This beetle, the Malhorotz, this beetle of Nasa Kodol issue, which brings about Mesiras Nefesh and Avon Soteres and so forth. This is the effect of the Makiv, what's called Makiv the Adam Kadma. In other words, this effect is not due I want to introduce it a little bit further. As we're thinking about it, and we already touched upon this, it's conceivable that something in the world that recognizes that it does not have a standalone value.
A standalone value?
Value.
A standalone value.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it then creates a value to which it should be dedicated. In other words, it itself identifies, it has to be something that should be dedicated. Which means it is something which is created by its own design, its own interest. In order to get a self-identity, a full sense, so I'm going to be dedicated to something. This is not what this is about. Because that type of a dedication is really has no real basis. It's created from the Metzius itself. Its purpose is to substantiate the Metzius. But here we're saying that the beetle is for the sake in order to reach out, to rise up, and to connect to something higher. This is not connecting to something higher. Therefore, I needed this introduction because of all kinds of different convoluted thoughts that go in the world.
Just before this last point, there was the point that there's bittul to Baal Haratzon. So to the extent that the Ratzon is kind of knowable, and we call that the mitzvahs.
That's already later.
Right, but to the extent that the Creator is unknowable, what is the bittul to Him? It's just a plain, you're our king, whatever you want. This, or acknowledging there is a king about which we don't know that much.
Right.
Okay.
I hear where you're coming from. It is really kind of elusive, and it's really deeper than even that which you describe. Because when you describe it from a worldly perspective. There has to be a king. And therefore, I'm dedicating myself to the king that has to be there. So this beetle is, again, in a certain sense, self-fulfilling.
So it's kind of beyond what Avram Avinu is saying, Yesh manhig labira. It's beyond, is a king to this world. It's more direct.
When Avram Avinu says Yesh manhig labira,
Yeah.
before that, he already dedicated himself to the manhig.
To the manhig. So that's already secondary. When he said Labirazu, that's a second statement.
Yeah, that was how he presented to the world.
Got it. Okay.
He was looking for the manhig per se, not the Birazu. And this is the point which I'm repeating constantly, trying to clearly state that this whole knowledge, even that which first surfaces and bottom in the world, is not world created. This knowledge is due to the makiv that surrounds the world, that affects the world. The makiv gives the world a sense of something higher than world. And this is why the world has all these bitul, the bitul, malarot, and so forth, is because it actually senses that there is something higher than world. And it senses it not because of its own experimentation, but because it was given that sense. as we explained in all kinds of different mishalim. And the simplest of them is, let me say, a table has a clear function. This function is identified by human use, by human activity, and so forth. But if you think deeply into it, we can recognize that the concept of the table did not surface as material that did not come from the human being. The concept of the table came before there because there is an environment in which to put the table. The room, the place, that was the makif that says, okay, here we can establish some kind of a beachhead.
What exactly? Beachhead?
Beachhead. It's
Expressing.
Foot, a place for putting your foot down.
Okay. An expression.
Right.
Beachhead.
So the makif is the source of this recognition in the world of the higher than world. Not because the world recognizes its own shortcoming, it's looking for something else. But it's actually provided for it. Your smile actually is what's your smile represent?
No, distraction.
Huh?
Nothing.
Oh,
A distraction.
It's great. It makes you smile. This is a plus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This is what the Rebbe is saying. In the world there is recognition that which is higher than the world. In the world there is a name from beetle, lebalorot. Where does it come from? It is not created by the world recognition of its own shortcomings. It is a real cognizance.
The shortcoming here, you mean for its own sake?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, yes. I'm not a real mitzvah. I have to have something. It is something which is actually provided from above, and the above is called makif. Everything in the world recognizes that it's actually contained within a makif, which is that is infinitely superior to what it is itself. Again, to bring it down home is the simplest thing. You wake up in the morning. Oh, I woke up. So what now? There could be two reactions as to what now. One is, what do I do with myself? Now that I woke up, what do I do with myself? Here I have hands and feet and a head. What do I do with myself? Then there is another reaction. Look at this. I'm shown a huge world. I have to go and participate in it. This is the reason. This is what this is all about. Get up and participate and go and do it. The latter is the process that comes milmalo. This is the makif affecting the pain. I don't know yet what to do, but I must get up from my bed and go and participate in this greater reality. This is illustrating the process that the Rebbe is describing here. But the Rebbe says, again, he's starting to show some of it, this is a makiv the ark. This is a makiv, it's a makiv, but it's a makiv, despite the fact that it's a makiv, it has a relationship to word. I'm reading from the top line of some base. Hagam shu b'bchinas makiv, b'chinas makiv harochik. Even though it is in the bechina, in the quality, in the status of a distant makiv, here the word makiv harochik. I want to clarify. In Chassidus, there is something that defines a makiv. So the makiv harochik, the close makiv. The makiv hakorev, the close makiv. The makiv harochik, the distant makiv. Makiv hakorev, the close makiv. This is identifying different levels of makiv. But here the word harochik does not refer to describing what kind of makiv you're talking about. This harochik is a general statement regarding makiv. Makiv, which is by definition rochik, definition different from world. That even though this is a makiv, which is by definition distant from world, nonetheless, this is the makiv that by its own, by the definition of this makiv, is yesel shachas elohelomus. He has a connection to world. This is called the makiv, the odom kadmon. This makiv odom kadmon, just to remind ourselves or to review or to bring it into focus. We all know that there is what's called the tzimtzum. The principle of tzimtzum is the reduction of the effect of a lakus, of the oir eliki, to the extent that it is possible to bring forth from this oir something which is on the worldly level. This is called tzimtzum. What is tzimtzum? Tzimtzum means reduction. What are you reducing? You're reducing the oir, the phenomenon of the oir. So we had the mashal many times. Bring it down again. This Indian is something which can be demonstrated, so to speak, in our world, and from this we can go back and to understand the way it is l'mayla. We said yesterday that the human being who is really in the world representative of a godly presence. This principle of representative of a godly presence means that he is really, he cannot be satisfied by worldly experience itself. He stands aloof to world. He gives definition to world, his own definition to world. Doesn't let the world tell him what it is, what it's about. He tells the world what it's about. This is the godly presence in the world. So now this human being, he's a godly presence in the world. He comes onto the world. And he says, and he brings the godly presence in the world. There has to be there is a godly significance in my activity here. How does that translate in actuality, in practice itself? For example, as we said before, since it's a godly presence, therefore the world has to be at my service, at the service of the human being. How does the world become service? That whatever the human being needs, the world presents as like a table, a chair, a bench, and so forth, a house.
What are we clarifying? The way that Tzimtzum becomes because we're looking at the way Makif becomes Pnimi, or why did we start talking about Tzimtzum?
Because I was talking about Tzimtzum to explain that there are different levels of Makif. We're talking about the Makif, the lower Makif, which is after the Tzimtzum.
In a certain way, Tzimtzum seems immune to Makif.
Let me finish Tzimtzum and you'll see what you meant.
It's right to think Makif seems completely apart from, away from anything to do with Tzimtzum, because it is the imprint.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It is the Makif continues, but it continues on the Tzimtzum level.
Which is kind of a paradox, because Makif inherently implies outside of any mitzamtzem.
Okay, so this is what we say, that this Makif goes through a tzimtzum, and as a result of the fact they go through a tzimtzum, therefore they can bring the lineage of the Makif into world,
and hence be a Makif Karov.
That's what we'll see in a second. So what is the tzimtzum? This is where you start asking, what am I going to? I'm trying to demonstrate in our experience the meaning of a tzimtzum. Just to understand the meaning of tzimtzum. Tzimtzum means reduction of the oil.
I know, but it was very similar to the way we illustrated the Makif, Bichlal. Namely, a human being is in this world, but he has a infinite context.
That's right. And here's where the tzimtzum comes in.
Mm. Right.
The tzimtzum lets in sense.
How? It's not guess. Let's follow a certain trend of thought. We said the table is representative of a human being. But at what level is table representative of a human being? It's representative of a human being on a very practical level. But this is not the original concept of the table. Here the concept of the table is it's a human dignity. But then this human dignity aspect goes through a tzimtzum. You say, how do you translate it practically in the world?
Mm-hmm.
How do you translate it practically? You make a table that a human being can use.
The table into?
That a human being can use.
But don't mistake. Don't think that the table originated from the use, from the functional use. It originated in the human thought, in the spirit. But then this spirit went through a tzimtzum, and you applied it practically on the worldly level. And it became a table. Do you follow what I'm saying?
It was already in the primary man.
That's this.
Yeah.
You must not confuse the moshel to the nimshal. I just want to give an explanation of what where is tzimtzum. Tzimtzum means that you have the oil, and this oil, as it continues, it becomes something so that it translates on the lower level. But it's the same oil, but it translates on the lower level. And here's what I demonstrated. A table has a certain function, clear function, and yet, how do we use tables? A table creates a dining room. When people get together and want to sit, they sit around the table. Not just for eating.
You didn't get the last sentence.
It's not
What was the last, so the last sentence I didn't get. It was maybe
They get together and sit around a table, not just for the sake of eating.
right? The experiences, we know that. So the table, even after it becomes mitzumtzum, lowered, it still retains the sense, the human sense, the spirit, and the higher nature.
When you say human dignity, it does mean it's not the self-esteem of a person. It's not.
No.
It's human dignity. It's
That's right.
what the Creator wants.
That's right.
Mission.
That mission.
Affecting.
That's right. The definition of a human being has to stand aloof from the world, above the world.